Hi everyone, thank you for coming to my Vulnerably Badass YouTube channel. Today I want to talk about getting Virginia license. I arrived in US in January, and one of the important thing in US is driving, and I got international license from Korea, so that international license was valid for 1 year. So I thought, like, yeah, it should be really easy. I don't have to worry about this 1 year. I should be able to just get the license real quick. And I checked the Virginia DMV website, and it says exchange is possible. So I had experience in Japan when I had American license and changed it to Japanese. The process was so much easier, and when I moved to Korea, getting Korean driver's license was easy too, because I had valid Japanese license. I didn't have to take any test or anything. I had to do the vision test and I think health check, but other than that, no driving test or no testing skill. So I thought it would be the very similar here in Virginia, but it was so different. First of all, the website said you may exchange the license if you have valid license from certain countries, and that included South Korea. So I said, oh, it should be easy. I have valid South Korean driver's license. So I followed what was on the website. It said, okay, write the application form and mail it to the office in Richmond. So first I did that with my copy of my Korean license, front and back, with the application. I sent it. And a few weeks later, or several weeks later, I received just one very thin envelope. And I know usually one thin envelope isn't a good sign from my college or graduate program applications. So I open it and it says, unfortunately you cannot get driver's license. I'm like, why? And they don't even give me the reason, but there was numbers. So I called and asked, okay, I applied for this and this, and my name is this, my personal information, and I just want to know why I am not eligible. And the person said, I don't know. And I said, if you don't know, who knows? Okay, who am I supposed to ask? And they said, oh, they sent the information to Korean embassy, and then the embassy said just one line for my application, not Korean, and rejected. So they said I have to contact Korean embassy. So I'm like, okay. So I called the Korean embassy or consulate, and what they said was, oh, what you were supposed to do was you were supposed to visit Korean embassy and get the official notary of your Korean driver license information, and then you can apply. So I'm like, okay, it doesn't say that on the DMV website. But since the consulate was the one who rejected me, so I said, whatever they say, if I follow, then it should be accepted. But the thing was, because of it was COVID, no walk-in appointments, but I had to make no walk-ins. I had to make appointment, and that was like months later. And I was like, I made an appointment, and I think it was like somewhere in the spring, because I remember seeing cherry blossoms on the way to the consulate. It was beautiful. So that's how long it took to go back and forth and things like that. And so I went to the consulate. I get the notary, and I made sure what's the right procedure, and they said this is the right procedure, and with this you go to DMV and submit it. So I didn't want to just mail it. I wanted to make sure that I got all the information, I'm doing it right. So I went to DMV. And here too, I had to make an appointment again. So I had to wait few or several weeks again just to submit the document. So I made an appointment and I waited. And then also making an appointment was so difficult in my area, which is closer to DC. So I had to make an appointment somewhere farther away, like 45-minute drive. So I found the time slot, so I made an appointment. So I waited for, not only I waited for several weeks, I had to drive 45 minutes to submit. And over there too, I double check, is this okay? Everything good? And they say, yeah, it should be fine. Like, you will be notified, you will receive a letter saying that, okay, bring these documents and you can get the driver's license. So I said, okay, thank you. Now I waited. A few or several weeks later, I get this very thin envelope from Richmond saying exactly the same thing. Rejected. I'm like, what is going on? But by that time, like it was, I guess, beginning of summer or something, I felt like I'm not gonna do this anymore. I cannot trust anyone, not even the DMV online information or Korean embassy or again, in-person DMV office. I don't know what's the right way to just exchange the driver's license. So I said, never mind. I am going to just take the test, both paper and driving skill. So once again, I had to make an appointment, which took several weeks. And I made an appointment and I went in with all the documents that I needed. And one of them was bank statement. And bank statement. And I didn't understand that it had to be just statement. I thought any kind of document from bank was okay. So I just grabbed one envelope from my bank and I went there, and then what they said is like, oh, this is not a statement. It's just a bank letter. And they rejected me. So all these weeks that I waited, because of this failure, I had to make another appointment, which was several weeks later. And then I went in, and when I was taking a test, when I was ready to take a test, they were like, you have Korean driver's license? Why aren't you can get a license. Like, thank you, I tried, but I couldn't, so I don't do that anymore. I'm gonna just take the exam. And like I said, I had Hawaii license. No, I had a license in California, Illinois, and then they go like, really? If you have the license from California or Illinois, you can just get the Virginia license. And I'm like, but it was like years ago, long time ago. And this person said, no, you can still get it. So if you're sure you have it, why don't you make another appointment and just bring the license back? And that was the kind of like, what am I gonna do, right? Am I gonna cancel this appointment, go back and bring the license, the past license to get Virginia's license, or am I gonna just forget about the past and just take the exam? And by that time, I wasted so much time. It was like not even summer, it was like fall already. So I'm like, yeah, it was like September-ish. I'm like, what if I let this appointment go and try to bring either California or Illinois license, and they say, oh, this is too old or too bad or whatever reason, then I have to wait another month or something to schedule the appointment. So I said, like, I'm not gonna do that. So I said, never mind the old American licenses, I am going to take the exam. So I took the exam and I passed. I'm like, okay, good. And then scheduling the driver skills test was again very complicated. It wasn't really easy, and I had to wait again a month or two. I had to have this permit, and that has like 60-day window that I was supposed to practice. So it ended up my driving test was sometime in November or something, and that was confusing too. So it wasn't easy to schedule an appointment online or anything. So my husband helped me to schedule it through DMV Facebook group page or message page or something, and he scheduled it for me, and I did the driving test finally. And I was nervous, but the examiner was Asian immigrant herself from Mongolia, and so that made me kind of feel more comfortable. And we kind of talk about immigration, or because I talked about this whole license situation, and I had valid license in California, Illinois, and Japan, and Korea, and I have international license. So I guess she was like more relaxed. So we talked about being an immigrant life, so that made me feel comfortable. And at the end she said, yeah, it's important for examiners to make the drivers comfortable so they don't have to be so nervous and make mistakes. So that's something that I really appreciated. But anyway, I passed the exam, and finally, like 2 weeks later, I got the real Virginia license. So it was a lot of work and a lot of meaningless going back and forth to so many different DMVs and consulate and all these places. But yeah, this kind of things happens as a foreigner living in a foreign country. More or less, it happened to be driver's license for me in the US, but yeah, in Korea or in Japan, it could happen. And in my case, what complicated me is my citizenship is Japanese, but I have valid Korean license. Maybe that could be the reason. I don't know. But anyway, if you're a foreigner, whatever the procedure that they do, you are kind of in exception. You're different. So that's the kind of like hardship of being a foreigner or minority, because a lot of people don't know, and not everybody are on the same page. So different people tell you different things, and you kind of like end up doing so many extra work, but you don't get the outcome. So that's what happened. But I felt like, yeah, this is very typical life, living as a foreigner. And I do intercultural training, and I understand a lot of expat families' struggles and frustration about the first adjustment period, when something easy in your own country is super difficult in a foreign country. And this kind of procedure is one of the examples.